2 thumbs up.
This is your brother Speech from the crew Arrested Development, and right now you're rocking with and watching Lyvation Conversations.
This is your girl, It's Karma, and I am on Lyvation Conversations.
Shout out to Lyvation Conversations. Thank you for the opportunity to be joining you guys. This is a wonderful platform, and we appreciate you.
All right, y'all, it's your boy Shizzle without a whizzle today, and I'm kicking it right here on Lyvation Conversation.
It's your boy Big Herb Middleton. I'm here with my man DJ Strong, Lyvation Conversation.
This is Judge Joe Brown, and I want you to come with me and be where I have been and check out Lyvation Conversation. They got it going on. You need to have it that way to check it out.
Thank y'all very much. 1 time for your mind, 2 time for your soul. Peace.
Keep watching.
That's an order.
Lyvation, ENT.
I want to thank our esteemed panelists as always. Make sure that y'all subscribe, like the videos, please leave a comment. We want to hear from you. Peace and Lyvation.
So I said, I'm one of those you said would be happier working with my hands. So thank you for giving me this. I've been enabled to release so much frustration and tension, MF. And I kicked him again. But, you know, that's what we had to deal with. So be careful what you ask for. You just might get it. Yeah, somebody's got his hand up.
Mr. Brown, it's very honored to meet you. I reside right now in the nation's capital. I'm in D.C.
Washington, D.C.
They quoted me, the activist on this panel, because I participate and I film everything that goes on right in front of that White House. And my question is a very serious question. With this verdict that we got from the Breonna Taylor case, since your line of work, your background, being a judge, I would just like to know.
Would you like to know what really happened?
No, I don't know what happened, but I just know.
Let me be graphic. Shit happened. And you know what the shit happened was? It's under the law. It's been the law for a long, long time. It's nothing new. You got rights on one side, rights on another, and poor Breonna Taylor got caught in the crossfire. Okay, what would have happened 40 years ago was the prosecutor would have presented a bill of particulars to the grand jury for purposes of an indictment. And he would have claimed that the young guy who was in Breonna Taylor's apartment, who was in the shootout, had in fact attempted a murder. That would be a murder that would have occurred during the perpetration of felony. That would have been murder in the perpetration of a felony. So instead of charging the cops with it or considering it, he would have gotten rid of it by charging the brother that was in the shootout with the murder in the perpetration of a felony. Now, to explain that, let's say you've got somebody who manages a liquor store. He's behind the counter. Some fool walks in to hold it up, and there's a shootout that occurs. Well, if the manager shoots at the robber, misses him, and kills a bystander, the manager's not charged with the murder. The robber is, because it was a murder that followed from the perpetration of a felony. So that's the way they would have done it. Now, what happened here is that the young man inside of Breonna Taylor's apartment is confronted with what at common law was called a tumultuous entry. Nowadays, they have codified that as setting up the castle doctrine. So when you're in the castle and somebody attempts a tumultuous entry, you don't have to identify the target, you shoot. So you see, he didn't get charged with anything because he didn't break the law opening fire on the intruders who come in with a tumultuous entry. On the other hand, the cops had a right to preserve their own lives and act in self-defense. And by the way, a private person would have had the same rights too. So they shoot back at him. They miss him. He misses them. Poor Breonna Taylor is laying in bed. She gets hit 8 times, and one of the bullets is a fatal wound.
Mm.
So that is what you call rights on one side, rights on the other. You have citizens with some strong rights and government with some strong powers. So every now and then there are some of those gray areas when they clash and there's collateral damage. So they could do something about it, but this is not new. A half century ago when I started studying law, this was an issue, and the discussion was, okay, somebody could get killed, but we don't want to take away rights to keep this from happening because that's just collateral damage. A whole lot of people have died, bled, been mutilated trying to get folk free. And, you know, that includes us, that includes everybody else. So you don't want to destroy that. That's one of those things that fell between the cracks. All that other stuff just shows that there was a collective negligence on the part of the police department. And what did you get? You got a $12 million settlement to the family for wrongful death. If they'd gone to trial, they might have gotten 35, 40, 45 million dollars. But these days, nobody wants to go to trial because a lot of the lawyers, and I'm not getting on Mr. Crump, he might be a fine trial lawyer, but too many lawyers these days advertise they've been practicing 7, 8, 9, 10 years and they haven't tried anything and don't know their way around a trial or in front of a jury box. So I don't know, but that's what it is. It was a civil wrong. In other words, there's a car wreck. Somebody's DUI and driving 95 miles an hour in a 35 zone. Somebody dies, it's criminal. Somebody's going on la-di-da and the street suddenly gets wet, or a oil truck drops some oil and somebody slides and somebody gets killed. It's no crime. It may be negligence. It may be negligence by the tank truck operators who got the oil on the road. It may be negligence on somebody who's talking on a cell phone, but it's not criminal. That just evokes civil damages. So you have 2 cops who were charged, well, not 2, but 1 cop charged with at least 2 counts of what in a lot of states is known as reckless endangerment, because he shoots into another apartment that doesn't have anything to do with it. He had nobody shooting back at him from that apartment, so that becomes criminal. Now he's on his own. The young man who is the prosecutor is black, and he's only 34 years old. Now, in my opinion, that's entirely too old to be the DA in charge. You don't know shit about life, being an adult, all of the other stuff. You haven't had that many people sitting on the other side of the desk in your office that you were concerned with immediately. But he's one of the youngest elected DAs in America. In fact, I think he's the youngest, but I'll give it to him. He has the balls to have resisted the mob justice that was being demanded by overly emotional folk who have no clue as to what the law is. Now, am I giving you something that I got in law school, or you got to go to law school? No, I got it backed up in law school, but what I'm telling you now, I learned in the 5th grade. I had a teacher named Mr. Campbell. He taught us this in the 5th grade, and we would discuss these issues. And I remember this was one he put right in front of us. When I was in the 5th grade in elementary school, he said, young boys and girls, you're going to grow up to be men and women. What do you think about this? Should we penalize the police? Should we restrict the rights of the citizens? Or what should we do? What if there's nothing we can do? Should we end this, change this, or what? What are the fault? You know, we went into this. Spent a whole week on this kind of situation. And that was back in the 1950s, and I'm in, guess what, 5th grade. So.
Thank you. Thank you for
I'm
that.
11 years old. And I look at people where all this stuff is not new law. It's been the law in this country since day one, and it's been Anglo-Saxon common law for about 1,000 years. So what's new? It's castle doctrine. By the way, that is not a new thing either. Stand your ground. That's not a new thing. So you had that charlatan, what's his name, Anderson Cooper on CNN that put, we've got to change this stand your ground. Do you know who actually had the right to stand his ground? It was Trayvon Martin, not Zimmerman. What happened had nothing to do with the castle doctrine because it wasn't inside of a house. And why did they formulate that? Because there's an actual case or two in every state. Something like this happens, and I can think of one in particular. An armed burglar decided he was going to come in and do a home invasion robbery. The homeowner was armed. He had 3 children and his wife upstairs. He heard something, got his pistol, gets to the head of the stairs. The burglars coming up from the foot. They see each other at the same time, start shooting at each other. Fortunately, nobody's killed, nobody's even hit, but the burglar falls down the staircase, breaks his leg in 2 places, sues the homeowner. That's crazy, but you see that happens. Stand your ground. The charge for murder, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the defendant has relied upon the defense of self-defense. In exercising this right, he does not have to retreat. He may stand his ground. There were only 6 states in the country that had you had to retreat. And that got crazy. Guys walking down the street with his mother-in-law and his wife and 2 children, and some thug wants to hold him up, so he's supposed to turn around and run and leave his wife, mother-in-law, and 3 children for this fool to do his thing on? No. So they started doing stupid stuff like, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if you find that the defendant in this cause made any effort as though to withdraw from the scene, however slight, such as changing the balance on the balls of his feet and raising one heel as though to retreat, you will be able to find that he satisfied the duty to retreat. That's crazy. It encourages cowards. How you gonna run off and leave your folk there for somebody to jack up? You know, that's just crazy. But you see, we got all this mouth. That charlatan Anderson Cooper talked to Ms. Trayvon Martin, whom I interviewed 3 times. One day, we just happened to run into each other at a function. It was in the church. I'm sitting next to her in a pew. She said, Judge, may I ask you a question? Why did Anderson Cooper ask me not to reveal what I'm going to tell you about Trayvon? I thought it was going to be something bad. I said, well, ma'am, what's that? She said, he asked me, please don't tell anybody that when Trayvon was killed, his grandfather was a lieutenant detective on the Miami Police Department, and his daddy was a detective sergeant, and the boy wanted to be a cop. I said, well, ma'am, he just wanted to keep his ratings up by making it look like you got a thug in a hoodie and somebody that's Jewish instead of Cubano, instead of a good kid who wants to be a cop. And all of the men in his family are cops. See, that's just that thing, that horrible, vicious thing that I saw out there in the weird wood for 15 years. By the way, let me tell you something else. You know, all these excuses some of these celebrities give about what they have to do to keep their lucrative positions. See how I am. I've been like this since day one. I have not changed. Did not change out there. But guess who the highest paid man, black or white, in Hollywood was, with sometimes the exception of Leslie Moonves, who was CEO of CBS until this sex scandal came up. It was me. There was no white boy getting paid more money than me. No black folk either. Nobody Chinese, nobody Mexican. I was the highest paid man in Hollywood. And
congratulations on that.
Shit off of nobody. Now, you don't know this because they did not want this to be revealed. Guess who had the #1 television show in the United States of America? Me. I was kicking Oprah's ass every damn week. Phil's ass every week in the ratings. That witch, Ellen DeGeneres, she wasn't even getting 1.0. That heifer has had every single show she has had flop and get canceled before a season's out, and they keep giving her new ones. Sometimes 2 and 3 a week, a season, because she's the poster child for eating nookie. She came out and ruined this one sitcom she was on, talking about she got a wife who looks 5 times better than her, and all that stuff they talking about jacking up employees around. That was one of the most miserable idiots I've ever dealt with. Her ratings were so low that one big, huge broadcast station in New York, KNBC4, was going to cancel her show. So they asked me, since I came on before, I was getting 6.2, 5.8 in the rating. She was getting 0.21, 0.34, 0.13. Would you please go on? So I show up down there since they had her taping in LA. She says, why don't you have your robe on? I said, because it's 80 degrees up in here and I ain't putting it on. I told you to put it on. I said, you go to hell. You go to hell, lady. You trying to be funny? What's the matter? I don't find it humorous. This is my set. Well, then, and I told her to go F herself. So I just said, guys, let's go. So they called me up, Judge, please come back. Please come back. So I came back and this chick, I told you to zip that robe up, and I told you to go to hell. This VAT cape ain't getting zipped up till you get your tacky ass together. This is I'm talking to her. And she's making everybody in there miserable. So when I got through, I said, you know, you're a piece of shit. And then I ran into her ass again. You know what she was doing? Her and that wife of hers were trying to hit on my now ex-wife up in a restaurant where we live. I said, what the hell are you doing? I said, don't you know that's my wife, you ugly heifer? Get the hell out of here. And my wife, she's fine, movie star fine. But she don't take shit. She was getting ready to say, you think I'm going to go down on your funky ass? And I said, baby, don't hit her. I'm going to beat this bitch's ass. That's where she was coming. So I had to pull my ex off of this fool before there was an incident. Judge Joe Brown's wife kicks icon of the gay crowd, Ellen DeGeneres, and her wife in the ass in a restaurant. So, baby, that's bad PR. Plus, I don't feel like messing around tonight, bailing your ass out of jail, you know. She said, I'm kicking this old ass. I said, come on, baby, back up, back up. You know, I'm just quoting what she said, but, you know, I apologize if anybody gets offended. I don't give a damn. I grew up in South Central LA, you know, and I'm glad to escape from the damn place. But I play village chieftain, so the village chieftain isn't just a judge. The village chieftain has to maintain order, right, and purpose and focus. And that's what I've always tried to do. And that's why I said at that meeting, the FBA thing, the recidivism rate in my courtroom wasn't but 18%, whereas it was 80 in the rest of the state. And all I was doing is teaching them manhood. So when you look in the mirror, you know, right, you see somebody looking back at you that you have to answer to. And when you focus on manhood, you always have a cause.
Evolution Beats.
They say the world keeps changing. Oh, oh, but it ain't getting no better. No, they keep telling me the world is changing. Oh, but tell me why it ain't getting no better.
Can't fake when you're wide awake. It's hard to escape to your dreams. It seems things have changed, way beyond strange. They tried to bury me alive, but didn't know God knew my name. I was the seed the world needs, had to grow me your brain. No weapon formed against me can prosper, no pain. So much evil in the world can make the sane go insane. That's why my team remains the same, minus the lanes. All these games people play every day explains all the shame. At point blank range, in vain, refocus my aim. With open arms embracing the flames, melting the chains. When it gets to grave with no strain, just the ruins remain. Mr. Fame met misfortune, draining more than we gain. Midnight train in Georgia with that warrior's blood in my veins. Lyvation conversations taking me down memory lane. Hanging on the limb, I can't pretend with champagne. Nah, these right here ain't tears, I spent years in the rain.
The world keeps changing.